30% versus 15%. The VOO or the CSPX. Two funds, the exact same 500 companies. But people say that one makes you pay double in taxes. And then especially for us Europeans. But is that actually true? And the answer might actually surprise you. So before we dive into whether it's true or not, let's first see where does this 30 versus 15% come from, because it's a big difference. Okay, so where does this 30 versus 15% come from? Well, it comes from America. So the VOO is an American fund. Everybody knows it, it's S&P 500. And America has a withholding tax of 30%. That means any foreigners have to pay a 30% tax on shares or on any dividends they get paid from the VOO. But even though this is 30%, that still doesn't mean it's entirely true that it is 30 versus 15%. For that we need some more information, so let's dive a little bit deeper. Now see, the CSPX, which is Irish, only pays or only asks 15% for taxes. Now this comes because it has a tax treaty with America. So that's where the 30 versus 15% comes from. But that's not the whole story, and the answer might actually surprise you. See, the thing is, for us Europeans, except Hungary, which is an exception, which we'll talk about a little bit later, we obviously have to pay that 30% tax. But there is a form that we can fill in, which is the W-8BEN. If you fill that in and it states that you're not an American citizen, you can lower that to 15%. So instead of paying the 30% withholding tax, you now pay 15%. But only after you fill in the form and send it to your broker. Now this may vary from broker to broker and from country to country, so make sure to always do your own research. I'm now talking about us Dutchies. Now, a little bit earlier I mentioned Hungary. Now this applies for every single country in the EU except for Hungary. Hungary no longer has a tax treaty with America. I believe it happened on the 1st of January of 2024. So if you're living in Hungary, you unfortunately still have to pay the 30% withholding tax. And for you, I would immediately suggest, if you want an S&P 500 variant, go for the CSPX and you only pay 15%. Okay, so now we have seen that the 30 versus 15% is true in some cases, but if we fill in a form, we can make it 15 versus 15%. But if they are both the exact same 500 companies, they both have 15% taxes that you have to pay, then what's the difference? Why would you choose one above the other? Now let's dive deeper into why you should pick one above the other, because most get that's actually wrong. See, most would suggest then just go for the VOO. It's the S&P 500, it's the magic number of the magic fund everybody knows about, and it's more popular than the CSPX. But it doesn't mean that it's actually better. Now see, the VOO has a fee of 0.03% and the CSPX has one of 0.07%, making it more expensive. But the difference is, for us Europeans, most of us aren't even allowed or able to buy the VOO. And if so, for example, I'm able to buy it with trading 2 on 2, we have an exchange rate, because the VOO is in dollars and I'm using euros. And you pay extra for that, meaning it's more expensive to buy the VOO instead of CSPX. Now another difference is one is accumulating and the other one is distributing. So the VOO is distributing. This means that if you get dividends, they pay it out to your account, and then it is free cash. You can reinvest it, you can take it out, you can do whatever you want with it. Now the CSPX is accumulating. This means that you never get paid out the dividends, but instead that amount gets put into your fund, so your fund increases in price. So summary, the 30 versus 15% is true, but it's negligible for us Europeans, except for Hungary if we fill out the form the W-8BEN. And if you send it to your broker, you get that 15% withholding tax instead of that 30. Now, if you learned something in this video and want to see more of these tips, make sure to subscribe and like, and thanks for watching. See you in the next video.